Hey there, Vanagon addicts. This is Ken Wolford here, Vanagon, live at 5:10. Sorry about the delay. I've been working on some upgrades to our shop here a little bit. As some of you folks know, you've been here coming here for years and years, and I have a lift that needs to get installed. So we just got done working on that. And so maybe some of you folks are not here because of being a little bit late, but I appreciate everybody that is here. Let me move this out of the way here so I can try to see the chat. Let's see there. Go to that real quick. All right. So I hope you guys are here and have some questions for us. We would love to talk to you and answer your burning Vanagon questions. All right, I'm trying to figure out where I even see the chat again. I saw it last week, and this week I'm not seeing it. All right, so I got 4 viewers on here. Let's see if I can see the chat here somehow, shape or form. Let me take a look here. Let me click on this, and then if you'll let me see it, let me turn this all the way down so we don't deal with that. And then, is there a chat here somewhere? Oh, I see live chat. Let me click that. All right. I see you guys. Hey, guys. All right. Thanks for being with us today at Vanagon live at 5. I don't know how long I'm going to be on. It really just depends on you guys. If you have some questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. I really didn't have anything super crazy to talk about this week. We've been working on trying to finish up some projects here. Like I said, I have had a lift sitting here for about 7 years. I bought it and brought it here and figured out it would not fit inside my shop. So we had to modify, had to do some work. We actually poured another thing outside for it. And then another local Vanagon owner came over today. Dan Rupert, I'm going to give him a shout out for that. He came over and helped me move that, and so I definitely appreciate him. And like I said, the Vanagon owners are great. They always help you out when you need it the most. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate Dan helping me out that way. All right, I got some questions here. I got Blake on here, and was putting an order in with me last week, but he hasn't finished it yet. So there you go on that. All right, and then Thomas wants to know, can he replace his fridge without removing the fridge or the fridge fan without moving the fridge itself? And the answer is no. You pretty much have to pull the fridge out. The good news is it's not really that hard to pull the fridge out. It's sounds like I'm trying to make a curse word, but pull the fridge out. All right, and so it's not that bad to really pull out the refrigerator in the Westie. Probably takes about half an hour. Then you can take the fan off the back. There's actually a cheesy fan. It looks like it's from a play school car or something, like a model car with this plastic fan just on it. It's like terrible. And you can make like a little bracket and put like maybe 1 or 2 nicer muffin fans back there that would give you a lot more airflow. That is a big upgrade. That'll cool it down, make the fridge cool better. And then another upgrade is inside. You can put another muffin fan in there with, you could wire it to that other one. That way it comes on and off. And some people have them wired so they just come on all the time, but then you have to be careful about, running your battery down. So that's my situation. That's my advice on the fridge fan. All right, then Blake says, wondering about updating the radiator to keep up my AAZ cool. What options are there? I mean, really the only option is the stock radiator for the 84 and newer vans, actually probably 83 and newer. They had a weird thing where, as you know, 82 diesel, they had their own special radiator just for that. I think it was a copper core, and they like to rot out at this point in time. So most of them have been replaced. If you go with the stock one for the later one, like 84 and newer, 83 and newer, we have them for $195, but you're going to need some items, okay? The mounting is totally different. So what I'll normally do is I'll get the upper mounting plate off of a parts van. Get the lower two mounting things off of a parts van, and the hardware to mount at the bottom. You're going to need a radiator fan shroud from like an 84, 85, because the fan shroud on the back is actually different. And you're going to need a new radiator fan switch that screws into the radiator, and also a radiator fan plug from a newer model as well. So we put that together as a kit. We can supply the radiator, we can supply all that stuff. All the other stuff would be used, good used. But I think that kit of stuff is somewhere in the like the $150 range, and that doesn't include the radiator. So I mean, you're looking at probably $400 or $500 to do that. But the thing is, you can't really get that diesel radiator anymore. But there's no real upgrade above that as far as radiators go. But I'll tell you something, that radiator, if it's right, it will cool down like V8 engines. I mean, people have put V8 engines into their Vanagon. I've put in 5 cylinders. I've put in turbo diesels before. And the stock radiator, if it's working good, it will cool out everything. Okay, it's like super over-engineered. And I really like the Bear one that we sell. That's the nice one. There's also one made by a company called Nissan, which is not as nice. That one is, if you look at the thickness of it, okay, the stock one is what, about maybe almost 2 inches thick. The Nissan one is like that. It's like half. And I mean, how is that going to cool as good, right? It's just not. So that's what's going on. All right, so okay, so Bob is asking about my thoughts on Go Westy bumpers. And do I know of less expensive and similar ones? I really don't. So, you know, the stock chrome bumpers and the stock fiberglass bumpers are pretty weak. They're not really made to do anything except fail if you have a low impact. And that's kind of like their whole job. You got to think about it this way. Do you want your bumper to crumble up, or do you want the frame of the van to get bent? Which one would be easier to replace? And I think this is what Volkswagen was thinking about when they made them. As cheesy as they are, yes, they are cheesy, and they knew they were cheesy when they made them. They were supposed to break, they were supposed to crumple, rather than, you know, you're buckling your frame or something like that. Now, that all being said, I mean, I've installed Go Westy bumpers, and they're pretty nice. I actually like the Bull Bar ones a little bit better. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They have like I don't know if it's 2-inch tubes, kind of like this, and then they go across these 2 tubes. On the front, it has like an overrider thing that's kind of in an arch. And those things are really beefy. I mean, they're super heavy. They weigh, probably the front one weighs 75 pounds, 100 pounds, and the back one probably is close. But I really like them. They just look cool. They would definitely do work if you get into an accident. One guy actually bought a set from me a long time ago. They used to be made by a company called Project Zuo, which some of you old-time Vanagon guys know them. They used to make these cool fog light things that went on the lower grill that aren't available anymore. But anyway, they used to make these really super beefy bumpers too, and we would get them from Germany and all this stuff, but they stopped doing it. But anyway, we can still get them. They're made out on the West Coast now, like a reproduction. But one guy bought a set, and he lived in Colorado, and he hit some kind of an elk with the van one night. And he called me up. He said, listen, it bent that front bumper, but the van is still all right. I said, well, that was worth it right there. He's like, oh, definitely. So Go Westy bumpers, I mean, they're decent. They definitely are stronger than stock. I guess they're not really that expensive, except for shipping them is extremely expensive. So if you live right near them in California, it's not a bad deal. If you have to have them shipped, it's pretty expensive. The other issue I kind of have with them is whatever paint or something they put on them fades out pretty quick. So like within a year, it'll be kind of faded. Okay, so they're okay. They're okay. All right, so Donnie Bosco wants to know, will it cool down an SVX 3.3 going into a 82 diesel? You got it. It should definitely do that. Okay, that should not be a problem. Like I said, I've seen people put in Audi V8s into a Vanagon, and they didn't put any different radiator on there, and it was perfectly fine. It has a ton of cooling. Blake says, good to know. Was wondering if the original would suffice. Thanks. Okay, so he's talking about the radiator. What are your thoughts on XVX 3.3? Overkill much? It just seems like overkill. I mean, I've had customers that have done it, and it's pretty crazy. One guy, he had a twin turbo one. I don't know if they're all that way because I'm not like a super Subaru expert. And here's the story. He went to a dyno day. This was down in down south somewhere, Mississippi or something, which there's barely any Vanagons down there. So he went to a dyno day for opposed engines. And they had all these other vehicles there. And he put his SVX Vanagon Synchro, I think it was a Synchro Westie, of course, on the dyno, and he won. He was like winning dyno day. And there was all these other cars there, and they were bringing in Ford Mustangs and all this other stuff. And this guy was winning dyno day. They finally went and got a Ferrari and brought that in there, and that won. Okay. So, you know, it's definitely going to have a lot of power. It's definitely, you're going to definitely need to get your transmission like reinforced and stuff for that, and most likely your drive shafts and a bunch of other stuff, just because, you know, it's probably going to have so much power and torque, it's just going to go to the weakest link and like break whatever. Okay, so just something to think about. I'm sure, Donnie, if you're into that, you have thought of that stuff. Okay, so all right, so that's all the questions so far that I've got on here. So anyway, I was again watching YouTube. I like to look over YouTube. Hope you guys had a great Memorial Day. Did some stuff, fun stuff in your van. A lot of people were actually telling me about their adventures over Memorial Day, and one of my customers actually, I thought maybe was going to come through here today. He was breaking down in Assateague, and I've never actually worked on his van, but I've sold him some parts in the past. So I told him if he was, and he's heading back up to the north, so I told him to stop by. But anyway, I was watching some YouTube videos this week, and maybe I'll take you guys to one of them since we can do the screen share thing here. There's a guy in France. Okay, he has a YouTube channel. It's called Electric Vehicle World Tour. Okay, and what he did, he went out and bought a Synchro Westie. It's actually a European Westie, like a high top, full high top. And he went out and bought that, and then he is going to be retrofitting it to be fully electric. And then they're going to do this as like he wants to do this as a business. So this van is like his prototype. He is going to retrofit it and turn it into a fully electric. He's got it all designed out. It's going to use Tesla cells underneath, and he's good at CAD designing and all that stuff. He's got it all designed out. So if you get a chance, check out his channel. I think if you just put in EVWT, that is his channel initials, and that will bring up the Electric Vehicle World Tour, and it's in French, but it has English subtitles. Okay, so you can check it out that way. All right, so mine is a non-turbo. I have the Subaru gear. Okay, that's cool. See, I'm not a super Subaru expert, Donnie. I will explain that to you. I've rode in them, but I haven't really did much on them. Okie doke. So we got Billy Shepard on here. He wants to know, do we have a 1.9 wiring harness in stock? Yes, Billy, we do have a Santa Claus. Yes, we have a 1.9 brand new harness here. If you want to purchase it, I will sell it to you. Okay, he was trying to call me right at 5 o'clock, and I said, hey man, I'm fixing to do the thing. Okay, so now Blake is saying that he had to cut his deck lid to put in his motor, shop out and put a big wood box over it, which protrudes up to the bed. Okay, made a template for a sheet level. Yep. Yeah, so the best solution for your rear bed problem is to completely level that entire back deck area with that thing that they built. Okay, so they built like a riser, maybe a little box to allow you to hopefully put your engine cover back on. okay? So you can open and close it, but you still have enough space, you know, for your, usually it's your injection pump that has to stick up, okay? So what you can do is, the easiest way to do it would be to use wood, okay? And just build like a platform back there all around that riser area and make the whole thing about 4 inches, okay? And once it's all 4 inches, that whole back deck, you put the seat down, the seat foam and stuff will be even with that back deck, and then you're going to need to get like an inflatable mattress or a mattress that'll cover the whole entire thing. So it'll go from the back all the way across the seat, and then that way you have your bed again, and then when you're not using it, you either deflate it or roll it up and put it in the back. That's the best way to deal with that, because you know, actually a lot of RVs do that. They have a solid thing for the back, and then the couch. I've seen that in a lot of other conversion vans and stuff, and it works out pretty good. But that's really the only way to deal with it that I know of. I did it myself. There's some pictures of one we did on our site. If you want to take a look, it's under like turbo diesel conversion thing that we did a couple years ago. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water there. Whew. I mean, it's 5 o'clock on Friday. I'm a little tired. Like I said, we were manhandling these 2 uprights for our lift, and those things weigh probably about, I don't know, 1,500 pounds each or something. Just me and one other person. So, wow. But I'm here. I'm dedicated to you guys, okay? And I appreciate you guys being out here. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? I know Billy wants to spend money, so that's his favorite. And you know, if he wants to spend money, I'm ready for it to come this way. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if any of you other guys, you like some money, you don't know what to do with it, it's burning a hole in your pocket. I mean, you go on our website, there's always something to spend money on. And, you know, Vanagons, they always need work done pretty much all the time. You know, so, all right. So what else were we doing? I was talking to one of my suppliers today from the UK. We just bought a bunch of stuff from there. We got some more stuff coming. What else? I was going to take you guys out into a Westie and kind of show you some stuff. But maybe what I'll do this week is, you know, I really want you guys to come up with some topics, because then I can prepare some like little models or something, and we can talk about things. Like we could talk about how to do the back brakes, and I could show you how to do it in real time. I can make a mock-up of the back brakes and then just show you all the different pieces and parts and how it's supposed to go together and stuff like that. If you want to do that, we could do that next week. We could do a thing about the front brakes. We can talk about that. I could show you all the parts of that. We could talk about some maybe fine-tuning adjustments. I mean, I could use my phone and walk around and show you guys stuff, but I don't want to make you guys seasick. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of my other concerns, is using my phone and sitting down in a Westie, and then everybody's like going, "Whoa, I'm about to throw up" or something, because it's like all crazy out there. All right. So, all right, now we have got another one. Andrew is asking about the best way to bleed the air out of a coolant system. So here's how I do it. This is the best way to do it. You jack up the front until the front tires start coming off the ground, you know, at least like an inch. Okay. So you got the front up. You take the upper grill off, and then you go to the back. You open up the tank, the pressure tank. You have to take the engine lid off. Open up the pressure tank. That's one over to the left. Take the cap off. Fill it all the way up as far as it'll go. Okay. Now you want to start up the van, and then you want to rev the van up and either have somebody revving it up to maybe about 2,000 RPMs, or if you're real good, you can rev it up with one hand like this on the throttle, and you can pour the stuff with the other hand. That's how I do it, but takes a little bit of coordination. And if you have a big funnel or something to put it in there, that would be even easier. So you pour in there, you're holding it about 2,000 at the same time until that tank is completely full. You pull out your funnel, you put the cap back on. You got to keep holding it revved. You put the cap on. Once you put the cap on, then you can let off of the throttle. Okay. Then you go up to the front. You want to make sure your heater is turned on. Okay. And then you want to crack the bleeder on the radiator. It's up on the passenger side, upper side. you just crack it. Okay, so I'm talking about like maybe half of a turn. I know some people, they take it all the way out. Ooh, I'm gonna bleed it for real. No, 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 don't do that. Okay, so you just crack it. Once you crack it, you'll hear it's hissing and maybe it's bubbling a little bit. Okay, so you let it sit there and bleed for a little bit. Okay, and what you're looking for is a steady stream of water to come out, steady stream of coolant to come out. But you might not get that right away. So you let it sit there and bleed. Then what I normally do is I'll go back to the back. Okay, I'll rev it back up again to like 2,000. I'll take that cap off of the tank. Now this is, the car is still pretty cold, so it shouldn't be a danger or something like that. Take the cap back off. Usually the level will go down because now it's revving and pushing air out the front. Okay, so you pour as much antifreeze as will go in there again until it's totally full to the top. Put the cap back on. Let it go back to idle. Walk back up to the front and see what's going on. You might have to do that maybe 2 times, and then it should be bled out. Okay. Then once you go up to the front and you see like a steady stream of antifreeze kind of just dripping out, you just close that bleeder on the radiator. You go inside the car, turn on the heating fan, and you should feel heat start coming out of the heater in the front. Then once you do that, you just let it sit there and run until it warms all the way up. And I usually just sit there and just touch on the radiator, like on either side. I'll touch this side and both sides. Just every once in a while I'll touch it. And you'll start feeling like it'll get hot at the bottom or warm at the bottom. Then it just gets warmer, 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 warmer. And then eventually the goal is for it to sit there until the radiator fan comes on and off at least once. Okay, that might take like 20 minutes. It depends on how warm it is where you are. So, you know, once you have that happen, that's everything's bled. Now on the 2.1s, they will self-bleed. Okay, they have, like, if you've got it 99% bled or mostly bled, they will self-bleed. They have a little ring that goes around the engine bay that hose is hooked to. You might have noticed that is a bleeder. Okay, it'll catch any air in the system and keep it from locking it up. The earlier ones, 83, maybe 82 diesels, 83, 80 to 85s, they didn't have that, and they definitely have a problem. You definitely have to bleed them really well. But if you follow that procedure I just mentioned, you should not have a problem. Now, I bought this really cool bleeder off of Amazon. And what it does is you use shop air, which is, you know, compressed air. You put this thing in the coolant reservoir before you put any coolant in it. You push a button on it. It actually sucks, puts a suction on the system. And you just keep doing that until it has a gauge on it. The gauge goes to a certain number. It actually tells you in the instructions, or maybe it even says it on there. So the gauge goes to a certain number. All the cooling hoses will go like this. And you let it sit there for a few minutes, because if there's any leaks anywhere, it'll actually lose vacuum. Then once you set maybe 15 minutes and it's fine, all you have to do is turn this little valve, and it sucks antifreeze out of whatever bottle. You put it, has a little hose, goes into like a gallon jug, and it just sucks antifreeze and puts it right into the motor, and there's no air in the system because you just vacuumed it all out. So I can sit there and do that. I don't have to bleed the system. Isn't that great? I love it. That thing costs $70 on Amazon. A normal person wouldn't be worth it for them because they don't bleed their van very often. But if you're doing it every day, it's great. Okay, and it saves me a lot of time. All right, so Chad wants to see some fine-tuning adjustments. Okay, we can do that. Billy, who still wants to spend more money, wants to know about gear reduction starters. I mean, I'm kind of starting to recommend them. I was hesitant to do it for a long time, but the reality is the Bosch starters are getting to the point where they're not really that great anymore. They've just been rebuilt and rebuilt and rebuilt so many times. They're pretty much like, it's basically roll the dice if you get a good one from Bosch. I'm not talking about Napa or any of these other places. I'm talking about Bosch. So the gear reduction ones, the nice part about them is you can get them brand new. They're usually a little bit more expensive, a couple $100. I don't think they really hold up as well as far as over time. I think they do not last as long as Bosch ones. But, you know, you can get them new. So I would say that they're a good option. Okay, I mean, you have a couple of options. You have that plate that Carl Mullendorf makes that you can put on a diesel starter, which is a gear reduction. You can pick those up. Once you get that plate, you can pick those up on eBay pretty cheap, those starters. I think a new one would be less than $100 for the starter. Now, the plate is $70-something, I think. But once you get it, and if you ever need a new starter, you just go to eBay and bam, okay, get Chinese starter central, and you're good shape. So that's something to think about. It's a little bit more of a pain if you it's a little bit more of a pain if you have a synchro, because just like everything on a synchro, more of a pain. You have your actuator for your diff lock right there by the butt of the starter. Okay, so I think if you go to the diesel one, or maybe the high torque ones, you might have to modify the bracket for the diff lock if you have that. Oh, thanks, Thomas. He gave me $15 in the chat. Thank you so much for that, man. You're the best. Okay. Any of you other guys, you want me to say your name besides Billy, because he spends thousands of dollars with me every day? You can put money in the chat and I'll say your name on here. So, all right. So we talked about the gear reduction starters. I would say yes on that if you need a starter. I'm going to probably start trying to carry some of that stuff just because of that reason. We do have a 2-year warranty on all our stuff. So if you bought a Bosch starter and it's crappy, I can get you another brand new one, as long as it's not a pain in the butt to change it in and out like a synchro is. It wouldn't be that bad. Okay, so Chad says he has a clock instead of a tack, and he wouldn't mind some information on installing an aftermarket tack. Okay, an aftermarket tack. I mean, you can actually install the stock later model, instrument cluster with the tack. That's probably the easiest thing to do. An aftermarket tack, I'm not quite sure where you would put that to try to not keep your van from looking like a race car cockpit or something. I mean, you might want the race car cockpit thing, but I don't. I like it to make it look clean. You know what I'm saying? So if you could come up with a stock, instrument cluster, a stock cluster, I can send you a link to the write-up about how to install that. It's basically just taking apart the little plug that plugs into the back of the instrument cluster. There's all these little wires in there. You can just pop that plug open, rearrange the wires, boom, plug in. You have to run like one extra wire for the tack, and you're good to go. Okay, so that is definitely a thing. Okie doke. I just got something on here, but it went. I don't know what that was all about. All right, so I'm still talking about Thomas. Thank you for that. Thomas wants to know about the best coolant. Okay, so here's what's going on, man. Oh my word! For so many years, I get these calls about the coolant, and people ask me about this all the time, and they say, "Now listen, I know the best coolant is the blue phosphate-free coolant. That's the only one we need to use. I know all about. I've read about it online. I know all about it, and I'm the smartest person about that. And I'm happy that you've spent the time reading about that. Okay, I have blue coolant here. It's on our site. If you want that, we can get it for you. Now, here's the reality. About probably 1993. Okay. Most motors have went to aluminum. Okay, pretty much every motor out there is either all aluminum or mostly aluminum. I mean, think about it. Subarus, right? They have an all aluminum motor, and a lot of other cars are all aluminum motors. So what they did in the early 90s, they changed the formulation of antifreeze, so that now pretty much any antifreeze that you buy is phosphate free. Okay, I know Napa is, I know Prestone, and Walmart. Okay, they're all phosphate free. It might not say it specifically. I think if it says ethylene glycol base, that's what you're looking for. Okay, so ethylene glycol base, if you look on the bottle of anything, it says it is that. Okay, and what I would recommend is either getting distilled water or buying the 50/50 premix. Now, I know some people are like, I'm not buying that, it's too expensive. I'll buy distilled water and make my own. That's fine. Okay, but you definitely want distilled water because of the minerals in your water. You don't know what you have, and it could react with your stuffs. Okay, so that is my thing on coolant, Thomas. I'm sorry about. You can buy blue coolant on my website if you want it. It's on there. Okay, but you can also buy it at Walmart, at Napa, and that's what I recommend, because that way, if you're on a trip somewhere and you have a problem, you can just grab a gallon of like 50/50 premix and put it in there and not really think you're messing up anything, because you're not. Okay, you're not. All right, so let's continue on here. And now everybody's going to hate me because of that. I like the blue coolant. It's so blue, and it looks like a fancy toilet bowl. It looks like that little toilet thing. Remember when we were kids? I remember that. Those commercials for what? The Tidy Bowl Man? You know whatever happened to the Tidy Bowl Man? That blue stuff screwed up everybody's septic tank. All right, so there you go. But it looked good. All right, so let's continue. Blake wants to know about tax. Oh, my gosh. Do you recommend an EGR for the diesel? You mean, are you talking about a tack for the diesel? An EGR valve? Then he says speaking. I don't know what he's talking about. All right. Let me skip that, Blake, for now, and then tell me what EGR means. You're talking about the EGR valve or something? All right, now. Andrew wants to know about Subaru or Bostig. They're about the same, really, tell you the truth. The thing I like about the Bostig is the documentation level of it, and pretty much when you go to them, you can buy everything you need except for the motor, and the parts that they don't sell, they document it like out the wazoo about how to get it, exactly which one it is, and all that stuff's really, really accurate. So, you know, when you're doing the Bostig, and you haven't done anything before, it's basically all that work is took out of it for you, because the guy who did it, Jim Akiba, he did his homework, man. I mean, it is awesome I mean, if you have never even turned a screw or a bolt, you would pretty much know how to do it after reading through that documentation of that. Now, as far as the Subaru, and you can buy everything from Bostig, or they tell you exactly where to buy everything else. Now, the Subaru deal, the problem I have with it is that you can't really do that. Okay, there's lots of stuff on the Samba about it. There's lots of websites online. There's lots of you know, different things like that. But to me, there's not one big like overall way to do it. As far as it's all planned out, it's all mapped out. Here's the steps to do it. Here's the stuff you need. You know, people just usually kind of roll their own on the Subaru thing, and that's all fine and dandy, but it takes so much more time. Okay, it takes so much more time. And then people say, well, my time's free. I'm retired or whatever. My time is free. Nobody's time is free. No one has time free. Like, I could spend time with my family right now instead of doing this. I'm here helping you guys out. But, you know, like Thomas, he gave me $15. That helps. Okay, some of you guys buy stuff with me, that helps. Okay, and, you know, I'd love to do this. I would probably do it if there was no money in it, but you know, you have to be paid for your time. And so, you know, would you rather be doing research on your Subaru swap and spending hours online and calling 6 different places? One place gets some of the conversion parts, another place gets another set, another place gets a wiring harness, another place does this, another place does that. Or would you rather just buy all your stuff from Bostig and Rock Auto and put it in? And then you're spending more time camping, right? Isn't that like the whole point? You're supposed to be driving it and going around, you know, instead of the project is taking longer and longer. And I know how it goes, man. Once that project gets past a certain date, it just takes forever, you know. That's the way it goes. I mean, sometimes you'll see vans up for sale that they, you know, basically never finished because they ran out of money, they ran out of time, they ran out of everything. Okay, so that's my thing on that. Some people really like. Okay, so all right, now Chad says they like me tacky. All right. Would be killer. All right, 84. Yeah, on some bands for the Tack. Oh, that's what you're talking about. That's a funny joke. I just got it. Ha ha ha. Okay. Now, on some of the bands for the Tack, the wire is ran. Like most likely an 85 would have that. I don't think an 84 would. But run that one particular wire from the back to the front for your tack signal, that's pretty easy. I mean, just like it's right in the engine bay, just go under the car all the way to the front and wire, you know, bring it up through behind the two grill areas. There's like a place to come in there. It's real easy. All right, so now we're going to talk to Craig about how to check if my AC is working. The fan blows. I'm not going to comment on that. All right, I know they all do. They all blow. All right, so how to check if the AC is working? Well, you want to make sure everything's there first. A lot of them, the compressor's not there, so it's not going to work if that's not there. So you want to open up the engine bay, look over to the left side. There should be this thing on there. It's like an aluminum-looking pump-looking thing, and it's got a belt on it, and it's driving off the motor. And so you need to make sure that's there. And if that's there, then you want to go to the center of it. You can kind of turn the center a little bit with your hand, see if it's free. Sometimes they're locked up. Then you want to, there's a little black wire on it. You want to make sure that's plugged into something. Okay. If all that stuff's there, then you start up the motor, you turn on the AC, and you go back and see if the pulley comes on. If the AC comes on, you'll hear like a, like as soon as you turn it on, you'll hear the compressor come on. Now, on your early ones, like the 85, they should come on no matter what. They don't have a pressure sensor in there. If it's low on Freon, it'll still come on. And you don't want to run it like that, but you just want to make sure everything's coming on. So if the compressor's coming on, the fans are coming on, the radiator fan should come on. That's everything's coming on. So if that's all coming on and the compressor's not making like a horrendous noise or anything, it's most likely then you're just low on Freon, and you could try to put some in there. We have a video about doing that. So you could try to charge it yourself. You can buy the stuff at Walmart again and put like maybe 2.5 to 3 cans in there. That should be good of 134A. And if it's good, it'll come to life and work. And it might only work for a day before it leaks back out. Then you might need some hose or something, but at least you would know that it's working. Okay, so that's, oh, thanks, Blake. I appreciate it. Blake just gave me 20 bucks. I really appreciate it, man. And I know he's going to buy some stuff too, so he really didn't have to do that, but I definitely appreciate it. All right, so that's what's going on with the AC situation. The bad part is the early ones, you know, especially the campers, even the regular ones, they had this crazy overhead system that kind of was right above the driver and passenger, and the evaporator was like right there behind your head in the 84s, 85s. That system just doesn't really work that great. They didn't have a good evaporator, or they didn't have a good condenser for it in the front. The condenser is actually weird. It's like in 2 pieces. Like you got an upper piece here where the upper grill is, and then a big gap in it, and then the lower grill has got another little piece like this. I mean, how's that supposed to do anything? Okay, so that's one problem with it. It doesn't really shed heat. Like an air conditioning system, how it works, it takes the heat from the inside of the car and just shifts it outside. That's the simplest way to think about it. Okay, so it absorbs that heat from the inside. It has to put it somewhere. So the bigger the evaporator it's got, the more heat it's shedding. Okay, it's like a heat sink, and the better it works. So if it's got these little teeny strips of condensers in the front, it's not doing anything. So that would be an upgrade. Putting a nicer condenser in the front might help it. But then the other problem you have is the fans for the early ones too, that blow the cold air. For some dumb reason, they decided instead of having 2 nice fans, they have 1 fan motor in the middle that's not that great, and then it's running 2 little squirrel cages. Okay, so what happens is over time, the fan motor gets loose, and then you'll have them 2 squirrel cages. They'll start bouncing around. So every time you hit a bump, you hear your Westy AC going, or sometimes it'll even like all the time. Yeah, it's pretty cheesy. So that's what you got to deal with them. I mean, they're just not that great. The later ones, 86 to 91, the AC system in them is great. Okay, I really like that system. It has a really nice fans. It has really nice condenser, huge condenser. It's like this thick, It's like the whole entire front of the car almost, and it sheds a lot of heat. And it's also like a tube deal. It's pretty nice. Okay, so that's my rant about air conditioning. But I love air conditioning in the Vanagons when it's working great. It's great. It works awesome. All right, so, okay, Blake's talking about a Egt gauge. I've never installed one of them before. I know we're talking about exhaust gases, and you're trying to make sure you don't like burn up your turbo or something, or see how that's performing. I've never installed one. I would say you just put it in the exhaust pipe right after the turbo and stuff, and then that thing. But that's all I know. I'm not a turbo expert. Sorry about that. All right, let's keep going. So Craig D wants to talk about 14-inch stock wheels. Needs new tires. Okay, what would I recommend tire-wise? This is another this is another question that we get asked all the time. Right now, there are a few options. There are what they call Yokohama super vans. That's what I like to use. They are on the tire rack, and they are. Let me see if I can look it up for you real fast. Let's do this. Let's do the screen share. We're going to share it, okay? And now we got screenception again. And then I have to go down do this because I can't see anything. Okay, there we go. All right, now let's go to the tire rack. Or actually, we're not going to go to the tire. We're going to go to Vanagon.com. This is a site that I curate, okay? And it's for Vanagon owners. We talked about it last week. When you go down here on this left, there's one that says Vanagon Tires, okay? Then when you click on it, it actually talks a lot about Vanagon tires on here and what you need as far as your load rating and all that good stuff. And then there's recommendations. So here's we got our recommendations. Yokohama Y356 from Tire Rack. You can click on that link. That'll take you right to that tire on Tire Rack. There's also, and they're around $100 each. They're a great tire. I've used them on my own personal van for a while, and they hold up really well. They ride well. They give you good traction. There's also Vredestein Comtrax by Tires by Web. Okay, that's another site. And then, of course, there's these hand-cooked RA18s that I actually put there from the bus depot because I looked around. They're actually about the same price at some other places, but I figured if you're going to buy them, you might as well buy them from the bus depot and support another Vanagon parts supplier. So all these three here, they would be like kind of a stock tire. Okay, then you have these general grabber off-road AT2s. Again, if you just click the link, it'll take you right to those. And the general grabber is, I'll click on it. It looks like a Jeep tire. Okay, you can kind of see here in the picture. Again, it's available at the Tire Rack. The price is not expensive. So if you wanted something a little more aggressive, you get that. It's load range C, which is good. Everything should be good. And one of the Vanagon list people put me onto that. Okay, so I would say that general grabber would be a good one if you're trying to go off-road. All right, so that's that stuff. Let's go back to this live dashboard, which is completely useless. Maybe this one isn't useless. How about this one? Is this not useless? Things are happening. Okay, all right, stuff happened. We're not even gonna look at this. All right, let me kick back out of this deal. Let me go back here, and I just have to unscreen share or something, right? Go back to regular. Yeah, we're back. Okay, good. All right, so I didn't lose you guys. Thanks for not dealing with the screenceptions. Okay, so that's the deal with the tire. The tip you thing is in the super chat. There's some kind of thing for that, so I'm not 100% sure how it works. Or in our PayPal, you can send us money with PayPal. My email address is kenwilfy@comcast.net. Okay, KENWILFY. F is in Fred, Y @comcast.net, and that is our PayPal. You can send us a donation through PayPal. Or there's a thing in the chat. I think it should say at the bottom something about a tip. So that is the situation on the tires. I hope that helped you guys out. Best place to buy aftermarket AC. I mean, I have a kit I'm developing for that. I know Small Car has a kit that they have put together, and probably our prices are pretty similar. Okay, so if you want to go on smallcar.com, they have a kit that they sell. Our prices would be about the same as what they're selling. We put together a kit that uses like what they call vintage air stuff, and it's pretty nice. It has the evaporator and a brand new heater core in the front. It has a new style fan that's really easy to replace and cheap. You don't have to take the whole entire dash apart to change the fan. No, yeah, yep, pretty much, and it works pretty well. I mean, the downside is you have to do some work under the dash. It's pretty much a mod. So I haven't really been selling it that much because of I don't know, if everybody's up to the challenge of installing it. I don't want to sell it to somebody and then they're not up to the challenge. All right, so that's my situation on that. Somebody wants to know if they need to use R12 for the AC. You do not. Okay, you can't really get it anymore. I mean, you can get it on eBay. It's super expensive, but you can put 134A in there, and that's what I recommend because it's inexpensive. It'll work pretty well. On the later model vans, it works great. Okay, on the early vans, it works okay. And usually what happens is you put some in and then you find problems. So why waste money on R12, which is like, I don't know, $75 a pound or something now, when you can just put in 134A. I think it's like around $10 a pound, and it definitely would save you a lot of money that way. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Will I be attending the VS camp out in VA? I usually don't. And I'll tell you why. Because I live the dream. I live every day. It's Vanagons here. There's people coming here. They're telling me their stories. We're talking about their trips and all this stuff. And it's just like when I go to a camp out, I'm already at a camp out right now. If you came to my place here, you would see like 10 vans are here probably. And people are coming here every day and we're chatting about stuff. So, I mean, a camp out is like my everyday life. I mean, I need a break on the weekends for that. Last week, people came on Saturday. I don't like that because I'm trying to have a day off. Then guess what? People came on Sunday. And one guy was coming to pick up a van, which I usually try not to do that on Sunday, but that was his only day he could do it. So while we were there doing that, somebody pulled up. And it was one of you people, one of the YouTube people pulled up, and they said, I'm just happened to be driving by, and I didn't think you would be here. And we talked, which is fine. It's nice to meet him and his family. But, okay, the weekends, I try to take the weekends off and just do something else. Because if you do the same thing every single day of the week, you get burnt out. Okay? So, now I'm not saying that on the weekend I might go camping in a Vanagon. Okay, yeah, that would be fine. Or I could drive a Vanagon, or I might even fix one or work on one or something. But yeah, it's kind of like my decision that way. I don't want to get locked into, doing stuff 7 days a week if I don't have to. Okay, so that's, what's going on that way. Okay, so, all right, so let me I'll put it in the chat right here, my email address. I'll just type it in here, and then that way you will know it. All right, and let's see, and we're actually getting ready to be done. I would love to do one in a Westie because I want to show you guys how everything works. Some people have had Westies for years and they have never actually gotten the refrigerator to light, and a lot of times, yeah, Juan Jaramillo is saying he loves the profile pic because that used to be his van. That's why he's saying that. So anyway, where was I? Yeah, so I mean, some people have never had their fridge lit, and guess what? It will probably light. Like 99.9% of fridges, people come here, they say, I've never lit this, and it can't get it to work, and we'll light it in like 5 minutes. So, I can't believe it. It lit. Yes, but if you know how to do it. Okay? And so I can show you guys how to do that stuff. That would be great. Okay? All right, so we went ahead and put the email address in there. If you wanted to, you know, like I said, if you wanted to donate to us that way, that would be great. I'm sorry I'm looking down, but I'm trying to do this all at the same time, trying to look at the chat, look at, you know, and for some dumb reason, I can't get it to come up on the computer and stuff. I don't know what that's all about. Oh, thanks, Craig, man, for the $10 donation as well. And, you know, really, like I said, you guys are the best. You support me through the week and send, you know, I actually have one particular guy. I don't think he's on here. He's been calling me like every morning. We have our little morning cup of coffee together and talk about Vanagon stuff and whatnot. So it's new to him, so I'm helping him out. But you guys support me so much. I definitely appreciate it. You guys have been buying stuff. That's the best way. That's been growing every week. And we did a lot more this May than we did last year as far as the website goes. I think that's a lot due to you folks. So I definitely appreciate it. I know we were about 10 minutes late in getting started, but it's now 6 o'clock, and I got to go look at my brother, watch my brother's live feed. So, you know, he does a live stream. At 5 o'clock with his thing, and I usually watch that as soon as I'm done with this. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you guys all for donating, especially Craig and these the other dudes, Blake, and I'm just looking at it, and of course Thomas as well. Craig says, one last question. He installed a Go Westy replacement propane tank and can't seem to get the connections lined up. Yeah, they won't line up. It's actually not just a Go Westy propane tank. That is like the exact same company that made the propane tank originally. It's Suburban Propane, I think, is the name of the company. And, or no, Manchester. Okay, Manchester, Suburban Propane. I forget that part. It's Manchester Tank. They're here. It's a U.S. company. They made that originally for some weird reason. The new ones have the valve thing like a little bit, like an inch or something in a different location than the original tanks. So when you go to put it in, you get it up there, and then the two copper lines that are coming down.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man, I'm on YouTube right now doing live stream. Just put them right outside the door. That's okay. All right, thanks, Paul. That's my UPS man. So the two copper lines come down, and then when you go to, they go like this, and then it's like the whole thing is shifted this way. So what you need to do is just reel as nice as you can, bend those copper lines back, okay, out a little bit so that, and then you got to bend them up a little bit to get them to line up, and put them back, and they will kink a little bit, but it's not, it shouldn't be enough. If you're nice about it, it won't be enough to cause any problems. I mean, I've did a lot of them. And you just have to be nice to it and just bend it nice, and you'll get it to line up. But it can be a pain. So I feel your pain on that, Craig, definitely. He says that the nuts just keep turning. It's the original connector. Yeah, it's just a thing of lining it up. It's probably just off a hair, and you're turning it, and it's not. And once it finally lines up, it'll just go on there. So, I mean, you might want to try some things like, you know, maybe take the regulator off and try to get those things on there. Then maybe you can try to get the regulator, the big nut, to line up where it goes into the tank. You know, I've tried it different ways, but really it comes down to just tweaking those two propane lines that come down. You just got to kind of bend them just a little bit, enough to get it to go together. Okay, so that's basically it. Yep. Does the big propane tank sit low? I've never tried a bigger propane tank. I'm assuming Craig's talking about the stock tank. It's about 3 pounds it holds. I mean, that's enough propane to last you for 2 weeks, cooking and refrigerator. Okay, so why do you need a bigger one? I would assume the bigger one would hang down more, because usually how they make them bigger is diameter. So it would probably be hanging down like another couple of inches, and yeah, there's nothing to protect it like the other one's hanging down. It's got a plate on it, and it's not hanging down that far. Something bigger that hangs down farther, that sounds scary to me. Okay, so I guess that's it, man. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Next week, come up with some more. So I did get some suggestions today. I will take them to heart, and next week we will have some more information for you guys, and maybe do some, little mock-ups and talk about stuff. Okay, doke. So guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Vanagon, and I hope that you're getting more miles per gallon with your van, and you're enjoying it. And that's it. All right, peace out, guys. Thanks. Bye.